Hey folks, here at OS Reviews, you're watching our video first look and a quick review of the Jellycomb 2-in-1 wireless rechargeable keyboard and mouse combo set. It sells on Amazon as a kit for $34, which is actually a pretty decent price, and it uses a simple Nano receiver that can tuck away in the back of the keyboard when you're not using it. Simply plug into the USB port of any tablet, desktop running on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and it will work just plug and play with no drivers required. It's wireless and also features, again, a fairly decent layout. It's not completely full size, but it's relatively slim, portable, and modern looking. Reminds me a little bit of some Lenovo as well as HP keyboards that are on the market these days. But what's kind of interesting here is there's actually a slight dip in the ergonomics of the keyboard, where you can see kind of plastic dips inwards, and as a result, the center row is actually more positioned at a concave angle, which is more optimal for typing. Obviously, this is a very thin keyboard. It's only 0.3 centimeters thin and weighs roughly 300 grams, so it's constructed mainly out of plastic. But regardless, this again is more of a budget option, but Jellycomb does have a fairly good reputation of making these accessories and mouses that we've seen in the past, in addition to audio kits for desktops. So we're excited to see whether this will perform as nicely as we hope. The mouse here also has adjustable DPI for sensitivity. So if you are looking for gaming, you can adjust this between 1000, 1200, 1600 DPI, and that means it's going to be easy to use even on a general surface if you don't have a mouse pad. So pretty decent. Here we have a rechargeable micro USB cable for, again, charging up the keyboard. So if we take a closer look at the design and construction first, the keyboard, again, is made entirely out of a polycarbonate plastic. So it's fairly lightweight, but also feels relatively stable. There's no real flexing. You can see I'm kind of bending the frames, but you can see the keys don't flex at the edges. So it's still very stiff. The back is also kind of reinforced in a very thick layer of plastic, so it definitely feels pretty good. Again, you have this tapered edge that reminds me again of a Lenovo Yoga tablet or a keyboard in its design. It allows it to be popped up at a slight angle when you're typing, which is again fairly ergonomic. I should point out that the keyboard is completely rechargeable. It features a lithium-ion battery that is rated to last roughly 90 days or 3 months, and it's fully rechargeable in under 2 hours, so pretty good battery performance. It uses standard micro USB. However, the mouse requires standard batteries. It takes 2 AAA batteries to operate. You just need one Nano receiver to connect both the keyboard and the mouse to the computer, which is tucked away inside the mouse and not inside the keyboard. So this plugs into your computer, and afterwards it's going to recognize both this as well as this. So it's a fairly seamless experience with no real plugins or setup that's required. So taking a closer look at the layout, again, this is a chiclet or an island style keyboard, kind of popularized by Apple several years back, and it has a pretty good travel and feedback to it in my quick hands-on. It seems to actually have a pretty good overall layout, and even though it's not 100% full size compared to, let's say, a 15.6-inch computer, it feels relatively comfortable, and I think that for most folks, typing on it will be fairly easy, just using it for a few moments. There are shortcut controls on the top, which you can tap on the function key to access, and they include your skip track controls and media options if you're using Windows. So there's some extras. There's also arrow keys on the sides, although it doesn't have a dedicated numpad. So for Word, for documents, and for accounting, you may have to plug in your own separate accessory for that. The mouse here is made out of the same polycarbonate plastic. It feels a lot more lightweight, but as a whole, it's fairly comfortable to use, even though it's still a very slim looking mouse. Overall, it's fairly comfortable regardless of if you're left-handed or right-handed. I do wish that the clicking for the left and right buttons were a bit more prominent and clicky. It's very silent, so it makes little to no noise. That's optimal for an office environment, but I do wish it was a bit more, having a tactile response to it. On the other hand, the scroll wheel is actually pretty good. It's etched in chrome, it feels hefty, has a layer of soft touch rubber, and it feels very precise in terms of moving up and down through web pages. There's also, again, the DPI adjustment button just by tapping on this. So overall, ergonomics are pretty good. It's a simple mouse, so don't expect any extras as far as changing the weight or changing kind of shoulder keys for multifunction gaming. It's really just meant for productivity and general use with a desktop. And since these days there are more and more kind of Android TV boxes, and in addition to, you know, full-blown Windows boxes like the X5, which runs on a full version of Windows 10, but doesn't come included with a keyboard or a mouse, this is actually something that should be considered more and more as we have more computing PC sticks that just plugs into a monitor, or if you want to plug your phone into a monitor and transform it into a pseudo computer, then you would definitely want a kit like this to enhance the productivity experience. Back here also features some rubber feet that glides around pretty well, and again there's just using an optical sensor on the back, and there's a dedicated switch to conserve on battery when you want to turn it off. Here's what the tablet looks like with the Nano receiver plugged in. You can see it's small enough that it doesn't become too big of a problem even if you're still traveling just with it plugged in at all times. Something I want to mention is that there's a dedicated power switch located on the back that you can pop on to conserve on battery, and the connection is pretty much instantaneous. There is a LED light that will glow once green to tell you that it's been powered on and it has enough juice to be used, and afterwards just going to turn off. Same thing with the mouse. You can see that regardless if I don't have a real mouse pad, it still seems quite responsive. It doesn't jump around at all, and for regular navigation and for selecting things on lists, it remains very easy and simple to use. So as a quick proof of that, I'm going to open up the file manager on here and then maybe take a quick look at, you know, how it fares as far as looking through documents and selecting things, maybe even highlighting stuff. So all in all, it seems like it does the job. And again, the connection distance or the range, I would say if you're within 2 or 3 meters, it's going to work without any hassles. So if you're giving a quick presentation, you can technically take this keyboard with you, press next, and it should still function. If we take a look at the keyboard and how it works in terms of typing, let's just open up a Chrome tab, and it seems again to be fairly responsive as far as easy to use. Now the keyboard of course isn't backlit, and there's also not a special kind of Windows icon for bringing up the Windows Start menu, so those are a few dedicated shortcuts that seem to be missing. But overall, again, it seems quite responsive and easy to use. So this is a test, and you can see I've made no errors at all in this testing. So, you know, even just typing along, I can feel how clicky and responsive this feels. It's not completely silent, but again, very comparable to other Lenovo and HP tactile chiclet-style keyboards on the market. And the feel is also, again, very good for this price point. Again, no lag as far as latency is concerned. Everything that I'm doing on screen seems to happen very naturally. And again, all the commands function as well, and in conjunction with the mouse and the keyboard. So I like the fact that it requires just one Nano receiver for this entire set to work. And for the most part, it does a great job. I would say that perhaps the keyboard is ever so slightly better than the mouse, just because, again, the mouse, the click keys I do wish were a bit more tactile and have a larger action to them, but the keyboard works phenomenally, and for this price point, I think you'll be pleased with the experience. It's a great find, especially for tablets, to enhance the productivity, and again, for TV boxes and computing sticks that you may be considering purchasing. So thanks for watching this video here at OS Reviews. This has been a hands-on first review of the Jellycomb 2-in-1 wireless keyboard and mouse.